Hey folks, David Stewart here. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Children of Hurin audiobook read by Christopher Lee. Children of Hurin was a book written by J.R.R. Tolkien, edited by Christopher Tolkien, that was not released until decades after Tolkien's death. And this audiobook version was read by Christopher Lee. Of course, he played Saruman in the Peter Jackson movies and is a very well-known actor outside of that too. He was in James Bond movies, he was Dracula. He's known for his very imposing height and his deep bass voice. And I can say that I think he lends a real gravitas to the story of Turin Turambar, who's the main character of the Children of Hurin. And it is a tragedy regarding Turin Turambar that I think a lot of voice actors may not have been able to pull off. There's a few reasons for this. The main one is that there are lots of strange names in the Children of Hurin. Tolkien, of course, would make up his own languages and name things in them. So the names are rather odd, and Christopher Lee rattles them off without any problem, pronounces them very correctly, and gives them their full weight and gravity, being very serious about the book itself. He's also able to, despite his age when he recorded this, I think he was like 90 or something. Of course, he was recording metal albums into his 90s. That's who Christopher Lee was. Profoundly interesting guy and multi-talented. A great bass singer in addition to being a great actor. But despite being in his 90s, he's able to do a lot with his voice. He's able to really differentiate a lot of the characters, even female characters, and give them their own voice within the book. Whether that it's the voice of a woman or a boy or a grown man, they have different qualities to them. And of course, his ability to deliver drama very effectively works for the character Turin Turambar, who has many very dour and harsh pronouncements and loud shouts and things. He's able to deliver a pretty wide range of dramatic qualities despite his age. His age did not really stop him from making a really high quality audiobook with this. And I think other actors without that deep voice and without that approach to Tolkien, being someone who loved the work and someone who took it very seriously, could have done quite as good a job with the audiobook as Christopher Lee did. I'll give you just a sample to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. The cadence is rather slow, but is clear, and the delivery of the dialogue in particular is very almost Shakespearean. It has a real gravity to it.
Hador Goldenhead was a lord of the Edain and well beloved by the Eldar. He dwelt while his days lasted under the lordship of Fingolfin, who gave to him wide lands in that region of Hithlum which was called Dor Lomin. His daughter, Glorethel, wedded Haldir, son of Halmir, lord of the men of Brethil.
So the the book opens up with a lot of names, and he's very clear with how he does those names and doesn't trip over them or anything like that. And that's true throughout the book. In general, I think it's a really good presentation of the Children of Hurin, which is a tragedy about Turin Turambar. And those lines that are, there's some of these moments in any kind of drama, whether you're reading a play, there's lines that are framed in such a way that, like, this is an important line. Christopher Lee is able to deliver on all of those with a really good dramatic punch. Now, the recording quality of this is kind of interesting because it sounds almost lo-fi. It sounds almost like I'm listening to an audiobook that maybe was recorded in the 80s or 90s. It doesn't sound quite as digitally sharp as most modern audiobooks to me sound. I don't think that that's necessarily a negative thing. It sounds warmer to me than most audiobooks, but it may have to do with how it was recorded and what microphones were used, as well as the distance the microphones were from the voice. So a lot of audiobooks, and I've talked about this in other videos, tend to be recorded with a close mic. A lot of YouTubers do it too. I do it for certain things, and people will notice, like, whoa, your voice sounds a little bit different when you talk close to the mic versus when you talk full volume further away from it. So it sounds like a more distant mic, a mic that's maybe a foot or two away from the face rather than a couple of inches away from the face. Christopher Lee doesn't need a close mic to amplify that bottom fundamental of his voice, the lowest tone of his voice. He has a really strong bass voice all on its own, so he doesn't need that kind of close miking in order to accentuate the details of his voice. But if you were to compare it to some other audio recordings like the Andy Serkis audiobooks, which are really crystal clear and very crisp with the higher end details of the voice, you'll definitely hear a difference. So the high end sounds a lot more rounded off. It sounds a lot softer, a lot warmer, and just not as punchy in the details. So if that matters to you, that is something to do with the general recording quality of the audiobook. There's not a huge variance in volume. Christopher Lee doesn't do a whole lot of going up and down in loudness and softness, but definitely there is an increase in volume when there's a line to be shouted and he goes to his full volume, and it has a very good resonant sound to it. So anyway, check it out. Leave me your thoughts down below if you happen to listen to that, as well as your thoughts about The Children of Hurin. We can talk about it as a book, I guess, on a different video and do a little bit of literary analysis. I think it's a very interesting book within, I guess, the Tolkien canon. It's so different from other Tolkien books in terms of its style and in terms of its subject. It's a tragedy. It's also written with a much more serious approach to prose than The Hobbit. The Hobbit is written kind of like a storybook, and even Lord of the Rings is written in a little bit less serious manner than The Children of Hurin. The Children of Hurin feels like a serious book with the prose as well as the subject matter all the way through it. Turin Turambar, the main character, Christopher Lee does a great job with him. He's a very dour fellow. He's a very serious and melancholy character, and I think Christopher Lee does a very good treatment of him. So let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a great one.